Hey, it's me again. Today we will talk about God using little people to do big things, taking down our giants. Our Aunt Shirley, who's my dad's sister, she has told us a funny story about her childhood that we have spent years and years and years laughing about. Doesn't matter how many times she tells it, she tells it the same way every time, very consistent with her story, and we laugh just as hard as if it was the first time we ever heard it. And the story is my Aunt Shirley was very small in stature. She still is, just a short little aunt. And when she was 5 years old, she only weighed between 25 and 28 pounds. And she tells the story that my dad, which was her older brother, had the mumps. And they had white lightning in the house because evidently white lightning was a cure for mumps. Now, I will not disclose whether or not my grandfather made the white lightning because I just don't feel the need to share whether that's the case or not, and it really doesn't matter because he's already dead and gone, so that's neither here nor there. But anyway, Shirley tells the story that at 5 years old, she got into the white lightning. Now, keep in mind, she was only 25 to 28 pounds. Grandma had no idea that she got into it, and that same morning that she drank her white lightning, a cow got out and went down the hill near the creek. And Grandma sent Aunt Shirley to get the cow, having no idea she was intoxicated. So the story is just really hilarious. She has no problem getting down the hill, no problem getting the cow, but when she starts back up the hill, she's too drunk to get up the hill. And we have laughed about that story forever. It's so much fun. And a couple years ago, she was telling it again, and my brother-in-law, Buddy, heard her tell it for the first time, and he made the comment. He said, "You all think it's so funny that she was too drunk to get up the hill, but what I find so humorous about it is who in their right mind would send a 28-pound kid to bring home a 400-pound cow?" And that made the story take on a whole new meaning for us. Hilarious. So we laughed about that for days, actually a couple days after he said it. I was still, every time I thought about it, I just cracked up. And one morning, I started thinking about it again, and I said out loud, who in their right mind would send a 28-pound kid to bring home a 400-pound cow? And it hit me, you know what? God would. God would send a 28-pound kid to bring home a big old cow. He does it all the time. A great example is the story of David and the giant in the Bible. David was just a young teenager, a shepherd in the field, taking care of his sheep, and I imagine that was probably a pretty mundane job. He was probably pretty bored most of the time, and evidently he had him a slingshot. And I imagine that day in and day out, to keep from being bored, he probably used that slingshot. Probably loaded it with a stone, pulled it back, and popped it. Probably spotted a tree way off, pull it back, and pop it. One after the other, maybe all day, every day. And he got good with that slingshot. And when he heard about the Philistine, the huge giant, he said, "Let me go after him." And he did. And he used the slingshot and the stone, the small little mundane task that he had done day in and day out, and a little hobby that he had. And he did what no one else had been able to do. He killed the giant, hit him right between the eyes, brought the giant down, killed him, saved his people from the Philistines. That's exactly how God works. That's exactly what he wants to do in my and your life. He equips us with what for us may seem like such a trivial gift or a trivial talent. We may even feel like we don't have a talent at all. And so we don't feel like that God can use us at all. But all he wants us to do is make that trivial talent available, that gift available. And he will take it and he will use it for his glory. He will bring down the giant. And he wants to bring down our giants in our lives. He doesn't want us to be defeated by giants because he's a big old God. And he will use little old me and you if we will just make ourselves available. And he equipped us with exactly what he wanted us to be equipped with. He just wants us to trust him with those abilities and with those talents and the availability. And he will take it and he will bring down the giant. Yes, in a New York minute, God will send a 28-pound kid to bring a 400-pound cow home. Now, he probably will not intoxicate us to do it. I'm just saying. He probably will not do that. But he wants to use us. He wants to use us. Here's a great verse. Let me read it to you. Out of 1 Samuel 16:7 says, "The Lord does not look at the things man looks at. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." Man sees a little 28-pound person and says there's no way that that person can accomplish anything. And God looks at the 28-pound person, and he sends them after a 400-pound cow with all the confidence in the world that she's going to bring it home. He looks at a young teenager in a field full of sheep, and he sends him to bring down the giant with all confidence that with God, all things are possible. I don't know what your giant is. I don't know what your 400-pound cow is today. But if you'll just allow God to use you, He will bring victory in your life.